All right, here you're trying to inform the customer or to persuade the customer in terms of comparison, right? So if the insurer wishes to do that, then paragraph 14 and 15 will apply. All right. In relation whether to the risk profile is similar and the basis of calculation or the past performance. All right. Especially in terms of the applicable fees and charges, premiums, whatever that's payable. All right. So So Appendix F is pretty important under this particular notice. So all those things are what you can or cannot do, what an insurer can or cannot do. You need to refer back to Appendix F, right? So next segment talks about the performance of the manager and sub-manager. I believe I've done that earlier, all right, in relation to this particular issue. Similarly, no insurer should include any information on the past or present performance, skills or techniques or qualification, whatever, of the manager for the IRP sub-fund or a person managing the assets of the IRP sub-fund on behalf of the manager. All right, in any advertisement or publication in relation to an IRP sub-fund. All right, unless the advertisement or publication state the source of such information. All right, so you want to rely on the performance of a manager or sub-manager. So where's the source? All right, indicate the period to which such information relates. All right, so you have a super manager, you have a super sub-manager. All right, that in the past has performed very well in relation to an IRP sub-fund. Right? And you can say, hey, this super manager is managing the IRP sub-fund at hand. Well, the notice says that you can do that, but if you do that, then the insurance must make sure it contains A, B, and C. Right? Paragraph 16, A, B, and C. State the source of such information, indicates the period to which such information relates, and this is important, includes a prominent statement that the past performance of the manager or the sub-manager is not necessarily indicative of his future performance. All right? So this particular person may have the knowledge, the expertise, and the skills of the techniques. All right? Notwithstanding his qualifications, skills, and techniques. All right? These do not necessarily translate it to say categorically or specifically that his performance will continue in the future, right? So, guys, a person's performance sometimes is contingent on the circumstances surrounding a particular product during a particular time, right? I mean, a person can be a super manager, but the financial crisis hits, as some of you may know of, then no matter how good this particular manager or sub-manager is, he or she cannot perform miracles, all right, during a financial crisis or some other crisis. Circumstances sometimes are just beyond this person, right, despite his knowledge and skills. Right? So that's in terms of paragraph 16. Again, this is to avoid any allegation about false representation or misleading information. Right? Right? So again, paragraph 7 emphasizes that point. No insurer shall in any advertisement or publication in relation to an IRP sub-fund presents any information on the past or even present performance, skills, or techniques, or the past or present performance of any other CIS under the management of this particular manager or sub-manager. Note the next line, in a selective or biased way. Underline that, selective or biased way. Such that any particular success is exaggerated or lack of success is disguised. Right? Sometimes the insurer wants to play up the name and the ability of this sub-manager. So it is possible, human nature, right, to play up the success and play down the failures, right? So that is to make sure that you present the performance of the manager or the performance of the past fund in an objective manner, right? In an objective manner. Okay? Now then the next segment talks about the future performance of the IRP. Right? Similarly, I've said this earlier to you, so it's just a repeat. 18A, right? So no insurer shall in an advertisement or publication in relation to IRP sub-fund include any prediction forecast as to the future or likely performance of the IRP sub-fund, or use the word targeted expected prediction, etc. I've done this, so I just move on with that one. Alright, paragraph 18 says the same thing. Alright, so you should not do all those things unless you set up very clearly in your prospectus the assumptions, etc. Alright, so paragraphs 19 give you a way out. Alright, if you look at 1, 2, 3, the third line down, you can see it's accompanied by a prominent statement to the effect that the prediction, projection, etc. forecast not necessarily indicative of the future or the likely performance of in the future. Right? So again, you must qualify by a prominent statement. Right? So you can say whatever you want. The insurer can say whatever the insurer wants, right? In order to try and market the IRP, but yet you need to have a prominent statement to tell the clients, say, hey, look, this is our prediction, our forecast, right? Based on these our assumptions, but please note carefully, but this is not necessarily indicative. All right? So what we say is 10%, you may not get 10%, you may end up with 2%, or sometimes even with nothing, or even a negative sale. So you need to explain to the client that this is just a prediction, right? It is not something that is cast in stone, right? So the client must be warned accordingly when you want to use those predictions or projections or forecasts or targets, right? Right? They are not saying no to you, right? So they are saying, MAS is saying under this notice that you can do it, but be careful what you are saying. Right, because the consequences can be allegations of misleading information. Right? So if a client makes money, the clients will laugh to the bank. Right? They may not thank you, right? But if clients lose money, well, they will imagine and they will create all kinds of allegations to talk about mis-selling and misleading statements. So I think under this notice we wish to avoid that. Right? So 21 says the same thing. Right? And 22 says that when the return on the IRP fund is guaranteed, this is important. If the IRP is guaranteed, then the insurer shall present any guaranteed return on an average annual compounded basis. Underline that, right? On an average annual compounded basis. Now again, as I say, does an ordinary person, right, maybe not conversant in the English language, or not conversant with financial jargon, right, maybe a non-English speaking person, a retail client, does that person understand the meaning of average annual compounded basis, right? Well, I guess you and I know how to look at average annual compounded basis, right? But it's a tall order for example, a very rich hawker, for example, right? Selling, let's say, fish ball or whatever in the Tiong Bahru market or any market, all right? This person may be rich, all right, because his business is good, but he may not really understand the meaning of average annual compounded basis, right? So there's a need for the agent or the financial advisor representative to explain, okay, that the guaranteed return is based on the average annual compounded basis, right? I did that to highlight the point in terms of use of jargon, right? Especially in a community, in a country like Singapore, where we are multiracial, multilingual, right? And not every person has the same level of financial literacy, right? I emphasize the word financial literacy. Right? So there's a need to explain. All right. Similarly, paragraph 23, right? A person presenting any prediction, projection, forecast allowed by the authority, that's MAS, under paragraph 20 of this appendix F, right, again shall present such prediction from a projection forecast on an annual average annual compounded basis. Okay. So that covers the key point, which in terms of future performance, right? I believe insurers will want to emphasize this point when you market an ILP sub-fund, right? So one of the main ways, one of the key ways to distribute or to market is say this sub-fund is going to do well in the future, right? So that is under paragraph 18, future performance. Okay, well, you can now see for yourself that there's a lot of requirements if you want to disclose information in order to market or distribute ILP sub-funds. Okay. Now moving on, then the next segment, legibility and audibility. Right? So you want to persuade clients by advertisement or publication. Then paragraph 24 says the insurer shall the word cause a publication of such advertisement or publication containing the information under paragraph 3 to 23, right? Clearly legible, right? So they want to make sure that you do not, the insurers do not put them in small print at the bottom of the page, right? So it must be clearly legible. And in the case of an advertisement or publication appearing in any document, including a newspaper, periodical, magazine, or letter, electronic mail, website, to be in a font size of at least 10 point times New Roman. You see, the MAS issuing this particular notice is very, very specific, all right? So they even they want the insurers right, to advertise in such a format so that it is legible and right. So in visual form, it must be legible, right? Font size of at least 10 point times New Roman, right? So well, that is a requirement there. Right, so visual form, again, paragraph 25. In the visual form contains a footnote. You know, footnote is something there at the bottom of the page, right? Footnote to be in a font size which is at least half the font size of the word or statement to which it relates. Right? So it must be not be, the footnote must not be so small and tiny that you need a magnifying glass to look at it, right? So they want to make sure that's again legible, right? In the past, it does happen. I mean, I've come across cases, all right, where the customer complains that the financial advisor representative did not explain the footnote, right? And there was a case even when the customer alleges, right, that the agent, the financial advisor representative, pointed out to the fact, this misleading, right? That fact that what's at the bottom, that's not important because it's in small print, right? It doesn't really matter, right? So therefore, there can be allegations of mis-selling or making misleading statements or even false statements, right? So here the MAS in this particular notice want to prevent that, right? All right, so cause the footnote to be in a font size which is half of the font size of the word or statement which relates. And in the case of an advertisement or publication appearing in any document, newspaper, etc., to be in a font size which at least 10 point times New Roman, but need not be larger than 14 point times New Roman. Okay? So you can see for yourself, it is pretty specific, right? Now the last point there for this particular notice is where the advertisement at paragraph 26 when advertisement or publication in relation to the ILP sub-fund is shown or broadcast over the radio, right, television, cinema, or other similar means, the insurer ordering the publication of such advertisement or publication shall cause the information required to be contained in the advertisement or publication to be audible. Now, you have seen advertisements over the cinemas where they advertise for insurance, right, and so forth, and other means like radio and television. So in this case, they also, MAS, through this notice, also gives you the regulation, right? And contain the advertisement to be audible, right? It must be clearly heard, unless the advertisement or publication is only in visual form. All right, in which case such person shall cause such information to be visually displayed in a legible size of at least 5 seconds. All right. So if you do the advertisement, say on the building, for example, you know those neon lights, those flashlights, so it should be at least 5 seconds. All right. If just visually, all right, it must be of legible size, can be seen easily for at least 5 seconds. All right. If there's any audio to it, it must be clearly audible. All right. Now, I think you appreciate the details in which this particular notice has set up for the publication or advertisement of the ILPs. Right? And that covers that part. Now, if you turn the page, that's Appendix H. Now, in that Appendix H, it talks about the product highlight sheet. All right, now this is one of the key instruments which the insurer will use in terms of the life insurers will use in terms of the ILP sub-fund. So this is a key document. All right, and again, the idea, the notion is the same. All right, so the PHS, the product highlight sheet, clearly discloses information in the format as set out in Appendix H. Right. Again, similar, not contain any information that is not included in the product summary. Underline the word not. Right? So product summary and product highlight sheet, there should be some alignment there, some consistency there. And obviously, not contain any information that is false or misleading. Right? Now, paragraph 2 to 10 set out the requirements in relation to the preparation of the product highlight sheet. Right? And Appendix HA, that sets out the template for the PHS. Right? So look at the template. If you have the time, or at your own time, and then the template shall serve. As minimum requirements. Underline that, right? An insurer shall adhere to the format, including the tabular structure and the yellow strip on the right edge of the document, and headings and subheadings set out in the templates for the respective investment products. All right, this is a requirement under the PHS. All right, additional subheadings may be added if these are useful to enumerate points in a long section. An insurer shall include any additional key information that is important for investors to understand the product. Right? So the test is whether the investor understands the product in your product highlight sheet. Alright? So let's now take a quick look at Appendix HA. Alright, now this is a template. Alright, let's go to Appendix HA, which is just across the next page, right? In your Kindle, in your whatever that you have there. So you turn to Appendix HA. We'll go a little bit slow on this one. All right. The Annex HA sets out the minimum requirements. So let's take a look at HA, and I just want to go through very quickly on this. Right. Importantly, I just want to highlight the first line there to you. This product highlight sheet is an important document. Now, I cannot stress further to this. All right. So you're highlighting the product. So this is a key document apart from the the policy, terms and conditions that the insurer will issue later on, right? So it highlights the key terms and risks of the IRP sub-fund and complements the product summary, underline the complements, which means to say, like I've said earlier in the earlier paragraph, the two must match, right? It complements, it add on, right, to the product summary. All right, it's important to read the product summary before deciding whether to buy the IRP. All right, if you do not have a copy of the product summary, you need to contact the insurer. And then the statement is very clear in bold. all the 3 points, all those are in bold. You should not invest in the IRP fund if you do not understand it or are not comfortable with the accompanying risk. Right, prominent warning statement. Right, and then you look at the font size and all that. It is similar there. It's all there. It's a template for you. Now, name of the IRP sub fund. Right. First column, product type. Right. So, if an excluded investment product, that's fine. All right, that's under the footnote. There's 3. All right. So, what is an excluded investment product? All right. The EIP, which we have talked a little bit about in the earlier chapters. Right. Now, look at the footnote below 3. In order for the units in the IRP sub-fund to be classified as excluded investment products, EIP, the investment objectives and the investment focus of the IRP sub-fund and the investment approach of the manager have to be stated in the product summary. So the 3 key items are investment objectives, investment focus, and the investment approach of the manager of the fund. Right? To invest only in deposits or other excluded investment products. All right. So if the money is in the fund, if the funds are invested, all right, the funds are invested in deposits. All right. For example, fixed deposits in the bank, then it is relatively safe, and therefore it may be it is considered as an excluded investment product, right? Because deposits are of a lower risk. All right, not to engage in securities lending or repurchase transactions for the IRP sub-fund. All right, and if you want to know a little bit more about the definition of excluded investment product, it can be found in Annex 1 to this notice, under FAA number 16, which we have discussed earlier. Right? Well, it can be found on the MAS website as well. Yeah, so therefore, the product type is important. If it is if the units in the IRP are EIPs, then you need to be specific about it. Okay. Then launch date, and then any other key information there. All right. Look at the bullet point there, and you cast your eye down the page. Who is a sub-fund suitable for? All right. Again, you note suitability is the test. All right. As I said earlier to you, there are 2 tests. One is informed decision. One is suitability of the product. So the bullet point there, the sub-fund is only suitable to investors. Then you got to state what kind of investors, right? State return objectives, whether it's capital growth, income, capital preservation, for which the product is suitable. Yeah. So those are the things you need to consider with, right? And then state if the principal will be at risk. All right, if I put in 10,000, I put in 100,000, will my principal sum be at risk? All right, or is my principal sum guaranteed? All right, words like that have to be very careful. Guaranteed, assured, all right, and so forth. All right. So if the principal is at risk, all right, my principal sum, my initial investment is at risk, state. Then state how long the policyholder should be prepared to hold the investment for the products which have locked-in periods, right? Right, so if I cannot redeem within a year, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, you need to let the client know. You need to let me know if I'm the client. Okay, so that's key. All right. So yeah, and then name of the guarantor under the first column. The product type, manager, capital guaranteed, name of guarantor. All right. Then second, nature of the sub fund. That's under 4. Right. So again, you read the footnote below. For IRP sub-fund that fits 100% into the underlying CIS fund, some of the information provided below could be similar to the underlying CIS fund. Right? So again, this is pretty technical. Right? So you need the agent or the financial advisor representative in providing advisory services in terms of the IRP or IRP sub-fund need to be concerned with. All right? And again, I must repeat, I've seen cases happening. I've dealt with some of these cases, all right? Especially an illiterate client, financially illiterate, linguistically illiterate, not literate in the English language, financially not literate, but this person has a lot of money, all right? And you ask this particular person to buy a particular IRP sub-fund, and then if the agent or the financial representative fails to explain sufficiently clearly in a language that that person is able to understand, then legal consequences may follow. Right? All right, so you need to be concerned with that. Right now, then very quickly you look at the next page. Again, you can see there. Right, example: sub-fund is only suitable to investors who seek capital growth over a 3-year period or longer. Also seek regular income through yearly distribution and are comfortable with greater volatility and risk of an equity fund. Now, equity fund relate to shares, right? Securities, right? So in terms of shares and securities, the volatility is much greater, right? Than when you are when the sub fund puts money into the EIPs, the excluded investment products. So there's a very wide range of IRP sub-funds that an insurer can offer, but not every sub-fund is suitable for retail investors, right? Especially when the IRP sub-fund, the monies are invested in derivative products, right? Structured products. So those are very complicated and complex products and may not be suitable for the financially illiterate clients, right? Now, having said that, of course, some of these financially illiterate clients have experience, all right, in investing in these IRP funds, either in equities or whatever currencies or index, right? Some of them are very experienced, so therefore we cannot say for certain. So to put the whole things simply, know your client, right? Know your client. If need be, conduct the customer knowledge test, the CKA, or the customer account review, right? As we have discussed earlier. So know your client is key. Right, then moving on, you can look at the key features of the sub-fund, right? So I'm not going to go into the detail. So it is quite self-explanatory. Right, then at the bottom, the investment strategy. Okay. So turn the page quickly, just to be very quick about this. Who are you investing with, right? The parties involved. All right. So then next down the line, what are the key risks of the investment? All right. All right. So if the risk factors may be there, all right, and you must warn the client or the customer that the risk factors may cause you to lose some or even all of your investment, right? So that must be clearly put forward to a client, especially if you are talking about IRP sub-funds involving with derivatives products, right? So, or securities and shares. Right? Then you can talk to the client about market and credit risk, right? So if you are investing in the products that are listed overseas markets, right? Say for example in Japan or in Greater China or Hong Kong. So you're subject to political risk and currency risk and regulatory risk and a lot of other types of risks. All right, if the product is listed in a foreign jurisdiction, right? So all this may affect the value of the IRP sub-fund, right? Especially you are talking about products listed overseas, right? So for example, say you buy shares in New York, all right? 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 You buy